Megan, thank you for coming back to lead us. It gives the congregation so much joy to have our teenagers be skilled enough to continue to lead, and it's also a way for you to not lose all that hard work that you put into becoming a bat mitzvah just a few months ago. So I hope you'll do it again. I had an encounter with a mysterious stranger in our synagogue about 2 months ago now. It was a bar mitzvah day, and he had very limited English, but he was trying to tell me an important story about Abraham. Abraham was the subject of the day. And he said that there was a midrash that compared Abraham to Pharaoh and Balaam, because we're told when Abraham goes to take Isaac up Mount Moriah, he wakes up early in the morning and saddles his own donkey. So too, Pharaoh, when he decides to chase after the Jewish people, hitches his own chariot. And so too, Balaam, when he goes out to curse the Jewish people, saddles his own donkey. So this stranger was saying that Abraham was like Pharaoh and Balaam, which I found extremely strange, but there was a language barrier, so perhaps I wasn't understanding. And then it all made sense this week when I found a midrash that said, Abraham wasn't like Pharaoh and Balaam, Abraham was like Joseph. We read in this week's portion that Joseph hurries to hitch up his chariot when he hears that Jacob is almost at the border of Egypt. He's coming down to the land of Goshen. And Joseph is so eager to see his father that he hitches his chariot himself, just like his great-grandfather Abraham saddled his own donkey when he was setting off for Mount Moriah. And now the story makes sense because the entire story of the Jewish family in the book of Genesis is leading up to the moment where redemption is possible. Abraham is the start of that story with his Lech Lecha moment, go forth and become a monotheist and spread the word, all the way through to Joseph, who settles the community in Egypt. You can't have a redemption without an exile. And so to put these two men, Abraham and Joseph, together in a story makes sense. And for them to rush with their own initiative to hitch their animals also makes sense, because perhaps they have an awareness on a higher level that our actions lead to important consequences. Judaism believes that when something matters, we have to be the ones to take initiative. When we can envision what must happen next, we take responsibility to make sure that happens, because it doesn't just influence our lives, it can influence the cosmos. Kedushat Levi, one of the Hasidic masters, says this about Joseph hitching his chariot. What is the intention of the Torah in telling us that Joseph hitched his own chariot? Would it not have been enough simply to tell us that he went to greet his father? Rather, we can learn from this. We should investigate all our deeds with careful scrutiny. We should weigh everything so that we might discern some indication for how we might better serve the Holy One and do it. That's why at Passover in the Haggadah we have that line about my father was a wandering Aramean. There are some commentators that say the wandering Aramean goes all the way back to Abraham, and some that say it goes back to Jacob. But either way, what it's saying is every moment leading up to the Exodus counts. And without an Abraham, without a Jacob, we wouldn't have had the redemption from Egypt. The Kedushat Levi continues, by our good deeds, we will become a chariot for the Shekhinah. The fact that Kedushat Levi is weighing the importance of the Shekhinah into the moment told me that he was probably influenced by the Zohar. So I went and looked up that passage in the Zohar. To understand the way the Zohar interprets our Torah portion, you should know this. It sees everything as a code. And if you can crack that code, what's happening in the world below is actually echoed in the world above in much more important ways. And so each of the patriarchs represents a sphira, an aspect of God. Jacob represents Tiferet, which is the Shekhinah, God's presence. Joseph represents Yesod, which means foundation, and is the Jewish people, the aspect of God that is expressed through human interactions. So when Joseph and Jacob reunite in Egypt on earth, in the world of the spheres and the emanations of God, we have Tiferet, the Shekhinah, coming together with Yesod, the Jewish people. And they're coming together because they're setting us up for the pinnacle Jewish experience, which is redemption. I sometimes wonder that encounter with the mysterious stranger, did he have the story wrong, or did he have a different version of the Midrash? Because if his version of the Midrash is true, perhaps he's hinting that everything we do has great import, and not only can it affect the cosmos in positive ways, it can affect the cosmos in negative ways. But I prefer my interpretation, which is that we're empowered to take initiative for important things. This Midrash is the Jewish version of the flapping of a butterfly's wings can cause a storm across the world. Everything we do matters. We can't actually live our lives with chariot hitching moments like Abraham and Joseph. We can't take initiative to do things like them every day. But there are moments where we must realize that what we do has great import. And the metaphor for our power in the world to affect change is found in the Zohar, which teaches that a reunion between father and son is paralleled by a reunion between God and the Jewish people in the cosmic level. So my blessing is that we're able to realize the importance of our actions, that we shrug off any indifference or despair when faced with the terrible brokenness of the world, and say to ourselves, I can make a difference. I'm going to hitch my chariots and influence the very cosmos by taking initiative. Shabbat Shalom.